Hi there guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Bryndís, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Middlemarch by George Eliot. So this book, as you can see, is a Wordsworth Classics collection, and it is 688 pages. I read and listened to this, so my enjoyment of this book was a hybrid thing, in that I read a few chapters and then I would listen to a few chapters of the audiobook. The audiobook that I listened to is narrated by Juliet Stevenson. It was about 36 and a half hours, and she did an excellent job, as she always does with her narration. George Eliot's given name was actually Mary Ann Evans. She was born in 1819 and she died in 1880. She was a novelist, a poet, a journalist, and a translator, and is considered to be one of the most kind of influential, talented writers or authors of the Victorian era in England. She wrote 7 novels that were published, and her works are known for the realism, her psychological insight into characters, the sense of place and kind of descriptions of different places in the countryside, and kind of her depiction of life within provincial England. So Eliot was a very unconventional woman of the time. She, for example, lived with a married man for 24 years. And after his death, she married a much younger man who had been her longtime friend, for sure. And as a girl, she had gotten a very good education, which was not always afforded to girls and women at the time. And she was not considered to be beautiful, and therefore her likelihood of actually getting married were also considered very slim. There is a really fun description that I found actually just on Wikipedia, but it's from Henry James, who was also a Victorian novelist. He wrote after he had first met her, he wrote, so she would have been, it was in 1869, so she would have been 69, 50 years old. Anyway, so he wrote, to begin with, she is magnificently ugly, deliciously hideous. She has a low forehead, a dull grey eye, a vast pendulous nose, a huge mouth full of uneven teeth, and a chin and jawbone which never ends. Now, in this vast ugliness resides a most powerful beauty, which in a very few minutes steals forth and charms the mind, so that you end as I ended, in falling in love with her. I actually love this description of her. And if someone would describe me like that, I would be in heaven, because I think that have someone describe your mind as kind of so beautiful and amazing that it overtakes all of your physical attributes. Oh my God, Henry James, I would have been in love with you. Beautiful, beautiful description. But of course, it was difficult in this era where women were basically like blamed if they weren't beautiful. You had to be beautiful. That was your duty. So yeah, so I'm sure it wasn't very easy for Eliot. But her father provided her with very good education, probably because he realized that she probably wouldn't get married. But she was also, because she was very intelligent. And so as a young, so she got a good education, went to schools and had like good teachers. And then as a young woman, she continued to educate herself by reading quite a lot in different subjects. She later moved to London and she worked as an editor for a journal. And she also started to work as a translator. And there she also met her life partner, George Henry Lewes, who was a philosopher and a critic, and they went and started to live together, although he was married. But apparently he was in an open marriage, so his wife, so they had children together, but his wife also had children with another man. So he obviously had a very unconventional marriage as well. Eliot was very open about her relationship with Lewes. I think that's how you say his name, Lewes. And she would refer to him as her husband, and because he was so open about it, there was some considerable societal disapproval that went their way for sure. But then she decided that she was going to become a novelist, and decided to adapt the pen name of George Eliot, because he didn't want to, well, there were two reasons it seems. That first of all, he didn't want to be kind of caged within the stereotypical female writer. Although at the time, there were women like, well, I suppose not when she was starting off, but there wasn't the Brontes, but there were some female writers for sure during the period, but sometimes maybe their works would not be received as favorably as if they were men. So she decided to use a pen name, but also I think she wanted to kind of distance her novels from her other work in translation and poetry and things like that. And apparently she chose the name George because that was her partner's first name, and Eliot because Eliot was a good mouth-filling, easily pronounced word. So that's why apparently she became known as George Eliot for her novels. So she was a very progressive woman of the time. She was very critical of Christianity, and she fully supported women's rights and equality within marriage, at least. She was a big thinker and a masterful author, and Middlemarch is her second to last novel. It was published in, 8 installments, so 8 volumes during 1871 and 1872. And it is set in this fictional Midlands town in England called Middlemarch. And it is set in 1829 and up to 1832. So it is an historical novel following a cast of different characters. So the events are taking place about 40 years before it was actually written. And the narrator of the book, which I'm not sure if it is Eliot herself or just this omnipresent, something narrator that kind of sees into the mind of everybody. And there are references to like in that time or back in the day or something like that. So it is made very clear that the book was written after in a later period. If you are interested in a very kind of comprehensive review and an explanation of the world of Middlemarch, kind of the context, the historical aspect, the religious and scientific aspects, I would suggest that you read in the edition that you have, that you read the introduction. It is a very good explanation of the book and gives you lots of insights into what is happening and why things are being described that way, what is going on. And often in editions, there will also be footnotes throughout the text so that you can kind of get some information as well in that way, kind of understand what is being discussed in the novel. I don't if you have in your edition there is an introduction, don't read it before you read the book, because introductions in classics, in like the classics, in classics, oh my god, in editions of the classics, the introduction is definitely not an introduction. It is a review of the book, so they will tell you the plot. So don't read it unless you want to be spoiled. But I think that as a supplementary reading, it is fantastic, especially maybe also if you're going to read it the second or third time or whatever, or if you want to really study the characters and the events, then the introduction is fantastic. So my version or edition is the Wordsworth Classics. And the introduction here is by Doreen Roberts from the University of Kent in Canterbury. And I think that I read her introduction as I was preparing this review, and it really gave me some thoughts and kind of validated some of my opinions, and also gave me something to think about going forward. But anyway, before I continue to talk about this masterpiece of a book, I'm gonna put in some clips that I filmed in the last 2 weeks as I was reading this book, and kind of my live reaction to different sections of the book. So this video, I'm sure you can already see, is gonna be probably 40 minutes or something, I don't know, but half an hour to 40 minutes. Hopefully I can keep it within that time frame, but I really want to give a really comprehensive thoughts and review of the book. My review, just to give a disclaimer, is not a literary theory review. I have no qualifications to give that type of a review, but it's my thoughts and my feelings and kind of my experience reading the book that I'm going to be talking about, and why I like it, not necessarily why it's a masterpiece. But anyway, so yes, so now you're going to see some clips of my live reactions, and then I'm going to try to summarize a little bit my thoughts and opinions. And just also from here onwards, there will be spoilers. I will be talking about things happening within the story, so you have been warned. Here you are. Enjoy the clips. So as you can see, I've started reading it. I'm starting chapter 21. This is the first time that I read this book. This is my first George Eliot. As I said, I finished chapter 20, and so I have met Dorothea and her sister Cecilia. I kind of like Cecilia. I think actually, with what I've known of her so far, I think she's a little bit mean. But at the same time, I also think that she is she's kind of timid and afraid of Dorothea, but she does kind of speak her way and speak her mind. But I think she has a lot of common sense, and that's kind of one of the description of her. She's a person with common sense, and she can see that Dorothea is going to be very unhappy with her pick of a husband. And there's a very interesting foreshadowing. A lot of people are talking about how they are mismatched, Dorothea and Mr. Cosbornson. I never can say his name. Kosopen. And there's also at some point before they are married, Dorothea has some feelings of annoyance towards him that she of course suppresses. I did think that it was a little bit strange that Dorothea gets married and then she disappears, and then we have Rosamund Vincy for a while, and then Dorothea comes back, thankfully. And it's written really well. It's so well done, and I do find all this discussion also about kind of the politics and of the religious things and politics of like hiring vicar, I think, for salary, with a salary, and like everything like that, all what the men are talking, and then the women are obviously very much apart from that. But anyway, so far so good. So it's been a couple of days, and I'm in chapter 32, or like about to start chapter 32, I think. Yes. And it's, yeah, I'm still enjoying the book for sure. And it's really fun to see also that the story felt a little bit disconnected. Like there was like Cecilia in the beginning and Dorothea, and then there was Dorothea, and then there was Rosamund Vinci and Fred Vinci, and then all of a sudden there was Mary Garth. I don't know, it was all very disconnected. It felt like that a little bit. And but I can feel, I think that I can see that it's now starting to get a little bit more connected, and that like their lives are like impacting each other in different ways for sure. And I think Fred Vinci is just so funny. He's like, I was just like, so many things that he says is just like, yes, Fred, I wish that too. I wish that I didn't have to do anything and I would just get money. And I wish that I could just hope that I would get money and then I would get money. And I love his inner dialogue. It's hilarious. I just think it's funny. I'm really starting to dislike Kosoben. And it's so funny that there was somewhere in this, like chapter 29, I mean, they're like, there's like, everything has been obviously from Dorothea's point of view a little bit, and she's like, you know, always a little bit afraid of, basically she's a very nervous young woman, nervous about her husband. But anyway, I think this is really funny here. I'm starting to feel like I want to kick Kosopen's ass, basically. He's so annoying and he's so mean. And like, I don't, just talk to each other, people, talk to each other. And then it's chapter 29. It's like, one morning, some weeks after her arrival at Lovick, Dorothea, but why? Why always Dorothea? Was her point of view the only possible one with regard to this marriage? The point of view changes from Dorothea to Kosopen's. And I think that is hilarious. Like, I like the narrator of this book. And so I've been reading like now 2 chapters with his, where there's a pointer with his point of view. And it's like, it doesn't help. You're still an ass. You're still an ass. So I was just on a walk listening to Middlemarch. And I have to tell you, like, I really, really, really dislike Mr. Kosoben. And I really, really, really hope that he dies soon. That his heart gives out and he dies. Because he is obnoxious. I hate him. He's dead. Yes, he's dead. I'm very happy. But of course, I knew that there was going to be something. Yeah, I knew he was going to do something bad. That creepy, horrible person. But he's dead. And so I'm now waiting to see how Dorothea will react to his will and what will happen. I also hope that Mary Garth and Fred Vinci will get married. I think they would be lovely together. Although her affection for him seems to be more gratitude, because apparently she is ugly and therefore nobody can love her except, and she's very grateful because Fred loves her even though she's ugly, right? It's very annoying. I'm really worried that Lithgate is going to off himself. Oh, Rosamund. She's so annoying. So annoying. I am so happy that there is a finale in this book, because I would have been very disappointed if I would not have known what happened to the characters. But I'm done with the book. Oh my god, it was such a good book. Yeah, so this was such a good book. As you can have seen, I was so engaged with the plot and the characters, and yeah, the book made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me get so angry at certain characters and so frustrated with others, and hopeful and anxious, and just everything. It did everything for me. And so there were several things that I really enjoyed about this book. And I have like a list of 5 different things that I want to go through a little bit. Yeah. So number 1 was characters. I really feel that Eliot creates excellent characters, and they become so alive and vivid to me, at least. I felt what they felt. Like I said before, I got angry at them, or I felt sorry for them, or was happy for them, or frustrated because of their behavior. And I was really able to engage with them, and almost felt like I was a part of their lives, like I was the one that was observing their lives. I really got engrossed in the story. And one of the things that actually is talked about in the introduction is a quote from Henry James, who was as I said before, a Victorian novelist as well. And it's about Casaubon. I had all the feelings about Casaubon, Mr. Casaubon. He was, yeah. Anyway, so Henry James said, presenting so unlovable a figure as Casaubon, with so little of narrow sarcasm and so much of philosophical sympathy. And I was just like, yes, Mr. James, exactly. Because they report, like, I got so frustrated with him at one point, and then the point of view changes a little bit from Dorothea's point of view to his point of view. And even though he was this, in many ways, narcissistic jerk, I felt sorry for him. And I could kind of see his point of view, and just this feeling of having, maybe it's because I am in academia, work in academia, and I am in the kind of final stretches of my PhD. And so imposter syndrome regularly interrupts my otherwise pretty happy life. Even though it's a very busy, sometimes anxious life, but in general quite happy. But sometimes imposter syndrome will kind of get in there, and I will feel that my work is completely pointless. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There is nothing in it that makes sense. Nobody cares. It's completely without any merit, which is basically Casaubon's life work, right? Because people like Will Ladislaw has no kind of opinion of his work, because it isn't worth anything. It's crap. Casaubon is not a scholar, but he's trying to be, right? And I can so understand the feelings of fear and anxiety and just horror of having other people realize that your work is rubbish. And although I know that my work isn't rubbish, obviously, but so that inner voice that is telling you that what you're doing is pointless and meaningless, it made me have sympathy for Casaubon, at least until the will, like until he died, for sure. But yeah, so that is a master, like that is a masterful craftsmanship. Was that even English? But that Eliot was able to do that with such an unlikable character is just, oh my god, it's brilliant. Another thing that I really enjoyed in this book is also the foreshadowing. I feel that she did a lot of foreshadowing, and even though it made me realize before Dorothea and Kosobon got married, I kind of already knew that the marriage was going to be a disaster. And I think there are a couple of other instances in that where you feel this underlying anxiety. Even with that, there is this, oh my God, is it going to work? Is it going to be okay? Oh, and I felt like that for other persons, like Lithgate. I was so worried at some point that he was going to commit suicide. And I was so worried that Fred Vinci was going to like fall back into gambling and become like, even start to drink or something, and that everything was gonna, and that was all of his behavior was gonna be even worse for the Garths than it already had been. So yeah, it was very, very good. Kind of, it kept you engaged with the characters even more, I think. And anyway, so yeah, the third thing that I really loved about this book was the humor. There are so many hilarious sentences and phrases. And I mean, some of them are just hilarious and make you laugh out loud. Others are just like, yeah, that's, oh my God, that's so funny. Like, so I wrote here down on page 259, there is Mr. Trumbull. There's like, he's talking or something, and he's like, oh, let this commence or something. And then there's like this, things never began with Mr. Borthrop Trumbull. They always commenced. Like, very sarcastically, like telling us that this guy is full of it, right? They always commenced. They didn't just begin or start, no, they commenced. I thought that was hilarious. And also just when Lydgate was starting off working, that, and the older doctors were like freaking out, and like he was considered almost to be a bad doctor because he wouldn't let people die that had kind of thought they would die. Everybody thought this person is gonna die, and then Lydgate came and like cured them, and they didn't die, and that was like almost him being ungodly or something. Like they were gonna die. What did you do? Like the fact that he was a good doctor was being used against him, basically, or that he wouldn't give medicine that wasn't needed. Anyway, I thought it was really funny. And then there are also some powerful emotional descriptions, especially in regards to sadness and grief and loneliness and all these things, but also with happiness. There's one point where Dorothea, she was feeling so anxious and scared and unhappy in her marriage with Kosobon, and on page 392, like she was always trying to be what her husband wished and never able to repose in his delight in what she was. And I'm just thinking, this is such a simple question that is kind of just hidden in there, but it's so powerful. Like, I think it's one of the most powerful sentences in the book, that she was never able to repose in his delight in what she was. I mean, it makes me emotional just like remembering when I was reading that, and just thinking about, as a person, if you are in a relationship with someone that are always trying to make you into something else, or always want you to act like something else or in a different way, and never being happy with who you are. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, that was very powerful. And also, I think when Dorothy and Will are saying goodbye at some point, and Will is saying that I never felt it a misfortune to have nothing till now, he said. But poverty may be as bad as leprosy. Basically, because he's poor, her social standing won't really allow her to marry him, or at least if she would do that, she would lose everything, or and not only like financially, but like her family, her friends, her acquaintances, everybody would abandon her because of the strict class system, basically. And so he could just as well be a leper at the time when leprosy was considered to be, where you had to be isolated. So I just thought that was very powerful as well. And also there's this description when after Dorothea sees Will and Rosamond in what looks like a love exchange, and her grief, where she's just lying on the floor throughout the night, crying and just thinking like, oh, yeah. Those parts of the book were so emotionally powerful for me that it just, yeah. But there was also some really fun things and very humorous things, and I really love it in books like this when they're using languages and metaphors in like fun ways, and like when like in regards to gossip, that I think this was the gossip when they had started, when people had, it was about, what is his name? Mr. Bulstrode, sorry. And like after the story of how he had gotten his initial fortune had started to come around after Mr. Raffles had died, there's this like description of, that nobody could be alone anymore, because solitary, like being alone, was certain to attract companionship as a pigeon which has found something worth pecking at. I thought that was hilarious. So basically, everybody wanted to be with someone else to talk about the gossip. Oh, and her description of gossip around, like in several ways, several instances, is so well done. Oh my God. Anyway, and then I was so happy that there was a finale, because one of the things that I don't enjoy in like many of the books, classical, whether they're classical or contemporary, when there's a romance and people like can't get married, and then you don't know, because getting married is just the first part, right? What then? That's why I want there to be a sequel to these things, so I know how does the marriage actually work out. So in case you hadn't realized, I really love this book. This is, I like compare all of the classics that I read to Jane Eyre, which just had such an impact on me. And I don't know if I want to say it, but this might have surpassed Jane Eyre as my favorite classic ever so far. I have not read, I have so many books that I need to read, so don't come at me. I have like so many books that I need to read that in the class from classical authors, but there is nothing in this book that I did not like. There were no parts that I found to be drawn out. Even though it's slow, it all made perfect sense to me. And yeah, I love this book. It is so good. 5 stars. I would give it 10 stars if I could. I mean, it is just a masterpiece of excellent characters, excellent plot, excellent setting, excellent kind of development of the story, excellent emotional connections. Yeah. It's, if I was in a theater, it would be getting a standing ovation from me. It was excellent. I hope you enjoyed my little review, my thoughts and opinion about Middlemarch. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Let me know if you've read it or if you're interested in reading it, and let's have a chat. Thank you again, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.